Horror movies are full of overused tropes, from the post-sex slaughter and cell phones with no service to car engines that won't start and teenagers who just can't run without tripping. And nobody knows more about horror movie cliches than our very own Vincent Priceless, Scott. Scott, tell us more about horror movie tropes.
I thought you were going to say nobody knows more about running and tripping. Because, honestly. So, got to think about, why do people love horror? It's like that thrill of excitement and terror. It's like this sort of primal thing, right? People want to feel it, but they want to feel it from a place of safety. It's sort of like roller coasters, right? And I think good horror sort of encourages the viewer to take a part in the journey, like it's actually happening to them. And I think that's really where character tropes come in handy. It's always someone that you can relate to or find yourself in. And one of the things that I personally love about queer media and the queer community in general is that we have this sort of tendency to flip social constructs on their head, and horror movie tropes are no exception. So if you take a look in our queer horror destination, you can see that we have some classic horror movie tropes. Example, the final girl, but it's actually a guy, but don't get it twisted. She's still a scream queen. We have a jock here who's actually this really effeminate dude who is afraid of lightning and snuggles up with his best friend, and love that. We have a cheerleader in here who's actually a grotesque zombie. So love, we just got to keep it interesting.
I am a future network news anchor who's super classy and has almost no fat on her body. I have never seen anyone spend so much money to make a house look this tacky. I've honestly seen more tasteful decor at a Sizzler. Who wears a neck brace like that in 2015? Who are you, Forrest Gump? And I am choosing to ignore this verdict.
What? You can't ignore the verdict?
What verdict? See, this is me ignoring the verdict.
Wait, Odin who? Where did you find that?
I don't know, the internet. I just Googled blood oath and this is what came up. Thank you for making that announcement that no one cared about.
So that was Chanel Oberlin from the iconic Scream Queens. And in case you couldn't guess, that was my, trope, right? So if I were in a horror movie, I would be the diva or the alpha female. I mean, do you guys feel like that fits?
I can say it. Yeah, I get
David,
it. I get
Definitely
it.
fits. Definitely fits.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, David, who would you be then? I think I have a sneaking suspicion as to who you would be, but let's hear it.
So the horror trope I most relate to is the wisecracking nerd, shocker, which is probably best exemplified by Jamie Kennedy's character, Randy Meeks, in the movie Scream. I think we have a quick clip of him if you want to pull that up.
Oh, now that's in poor taste.
What?
If you were the only suspect in a senseless bloodbath, would you be standing in the horror section?
Well, it was just a misunderstanding. He didn't do anything.
You're such a little lapdog. He's got killer printed all over his forehead.
Okay. Really? Why'd the cops let him go, smart guy?
Because obviously they don't watch enough movies. This is standard horror movie stuff. Prom Night Revisited, man.
So there are many variations of the wisecracking nerd in horror movies. He's occasionally the smartest guy in the room, like Randy Meeks. Sometimes he's the best friend and sidekick to the jock character or the leading man. And sometimes he's just a hapless doofus who serves as comedic relief. But one thing that is consistent is that he always ends up dying. And in a horror movie situation, I 100% would be the person who tries to crack jokes in the face of death to keep everyone else calm, but then ends up getting shoved into a dishwasher and burned to death by the local maniac. That would be me. That is... I just figured my dishwasher's always empty because the dishes are in the sink, and he would just punish me for that by shoving me in there. So,
Okay.
Audrey, do you have a specific trope you relate to?
Mine is more what I would want to relate to. And I want to believe that I'd be the final girl, right? Like the girl that goes through a lot, but comes out on top at the end. So I think we can roll a clip of Danny in Midsummer, which is kind of displays that a little bit. So let's see.
Mom?
Oh my God, Danny! May Queen!
Okay, so there you just saw like Danny she goes through a lot of stuff, right? She goes on this journey, this like vacation to, the countryside, and it's supposed to be an experience, and it turns out to be quite the experience. And she ends up living, kind of finding her own new community, I guess, and makes it to the end. So she doesn't die, but it's not like the best. It's weird. But what I just wanted to say is that I think that I would like to be the final girl. I would want to consider myself smart enough and clever enough to like outsmart people, make it to the end, like claw my way through. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably like get killed before David would get killed cracking jokes. But I really just wanted to talk about Midsummer because it was so weird. And I really have aspirations to be the final girl. So am I that girl right now? Probably not. But I will continue watching horror movies and honing my craft. And maybe one day that'll be me.
Kwam, who do you relate to in the world of horror?
So I don't necessarily relate to this trope, but I think it's a trope that we should all talk about, and that's the token minority. It's no secret that in the horror movie genre that there's always the minority who's either just there to check a box or to be the first one killed. But I think we're starting to see that kind of change, and that's why I chose Ice Cube from Anaconda, because he actually does not die. So we can roll a clip and see that.
Hey, hey, hey! Don't touch my radio. Kind of spooky.
Think so?
You know where you are? You're in the middle of the jungle. Okay, all you guys do is you question and you criticize.
Yeah, so as you can see, my man Ice Cube, he goes through a whole lot. He gets bitten by the snake, he gets wrapped up and, almost strangled to death, but he does not die. And he breaks the token minority trope, and being usually the black guy dies first. He doesn't die at all. He actually comes out and prevails and kills the snake itself. So that's why I had to choose Ice Cube, my guy, my broski. And yeah, that is my horror movie trope.
You can't kill Ice Cube with a snake, man. You got to melt him. That's how you do it. Like, come on.
Duh.
It's the only way.
The only way.
Well,
leave him in the sun.
You can. Well, you have to check out Scott's Horror Tropes and much more by saying queer horror into your voice remote.